Hi dear students, welcome you all on the behalf of Rahul Anand Biology Tutorials. So as you know that I am Rahul Anand and this is somewhat around my channel whose name is actually the Rahul Anand Biology Tutorials. So now let's begin with the very interesting topics which are oftenly being asked in terms of your Neet, often the Aves, often the All India Pre-Medical Examination. So these are literally belonging from which of the chapters of your book? So these are belonging from the animal kingdom. So primarily we'll be understanding about the particular hint by which we could remember the name of the different phyla as well as their important characteristics. So particularly for it we are having the formula as well as the hint. So these are called as what? So these are called as the niche, then the dress. Now so let's elaborate the particular meaning. Though the particular meaning is the here meant of the N standing for the name, then the E is standing for the environment, then the C will be standing for the common name, then again the C means the cellular or what level of organization, then what, then the D means the digestion, then the R will be standing for the reproduction, then what, then particularly the E is standing for the example, then again the S will be standing for the sexes as well as the supporting features, then the special features, then the particularly structure etc. So here we are going to study about the very important of the particular phylum, or either you could tell the family in term which are actually what? Sorry, the class. So these are actually what? So these are the Aves. So talking about the particular Aves, so these are literally known as what? So the Aves are the birds which is also called as the here meant of the flying vertebrates. Understood? So the Aves are the birds which is also called as the flying vertebrates. So your Aves literally include 10,000 what? In terms of the 10,052 of the different kind of the species. Again, when we are talking about the next term, so your here we will be dealing about the environment. So the Aves literally flying in terms of the air, as well as the Aves are what? So the Aves are warm-blooded. Thus the Aves are called as the homeothermals. Understood? So the Aves are the particularly warm-blooded. Thus these are called as the homeothermals. As well as these Aves perform the aerial mode of life. Understood? So these Aves literally perform the aerial mode of life. Often these Aves are pneumatic. So pneumatic literally means these Aves are able to maintain their constant body temperature. Understood? So these Aves are pneumatic, means these Aves are able to maintain their constant body temperature. Now then particularly here means we are having the case of the common features. So these are what? So when we are talking about the case of the Aves, so the particular skin of the Aves is dry. Understood? The skin of particular Aves is dry, as well as these are literally not having the any kinds of the gland, but we do have the exception case. And what is the exception? So the sweat glands will be literally being present in terms of the base of the tails of the Aves. Understood? So in the case of the Aves, the particularly glands are not being present, often the skin is particularly dry, but you could say that there is the exception that what? In term the oil glands are literally being present in term of their here in term of the tail. Often when we are dealing with the Aves case, so their heart are particularly being four chambered, as well as the scales are literally being absent in term of what? So the scales are literally being absent in term of the Aves skin. Then we are having the here when these Aves are particularly having what? Tell me, the bony endoskeleton. Thus these are coming under the case of the common structure. Understood? So the Aves are particularly having the bony endoskeleton, as well as these are being covered by the osteoclasts. Understood? Often when we are dealing about the case of the Aves, so these will be of course having the long of the bones. You understand that these particularly Aves second name is what? So these Aves second name is the birds. So in this case the long of the bones are literally being filled with the different kinds of the fluid like substances in term of what, in term of the apes, as well as when we are talking about the next component in term of the particular apes. So you could understand that the particular apes body is being divided in term of the 4 broad parts. So these are what, so these are the head, then the neck, then the particularly trunk, then what, then the tail. So we have dealt about the certain features. Then we do have the next features. Then we are having what? So particularly we will be having the next features in term of what? In term that these particularly apes are having what? So these apes, so in these particularly apes, the sexes are separate. Often what? Often the fertilization will be internal in term of what? In term of the apes, as well as these are literally known as the oviparous. Why? So your apes are particularly called as the oviparous because in this case the indirect development are literally being occurring. As well as when we are dealing about the next criteria, which is the fertilization. So in the case of the fertilization in term of the apes, so in eggs, so in apes particularly the fertilization is by laying eggs, as well as in the case of the apes the particularly here meant of the respiration is being performed by the lungs. Often particularly the air sacs are literally being present in term of what? So the air sacs are literally being connected with reference to the lung, which is playing important role to perform the respiration. Understood? So in this case the particularly air sacs are being connected with reference to the lung employed for performing the respiration task. Talking about the next criteria in term from the apes condition, which are actually the example. So we are having the pavo. So the pavo is called as what? So your pavo, it is called as the peacock. Then we are having what? Then we are having particularly the corvus. So the corvus is called as the crow. Then particularly we are having the here, means in term of what? Means in term of the pasticula, which is often called as the parrot. Then the next broad categories such as the ichthyopus. So these ichthyopus are literally known as the ostrich, etc. Often we are having the neophron. So these neophron are literally known from these condition only. As well as when we are talking about these conditions in terms of the apes, so I thought you have got the particular concept, as well as we do have the next of the example in it, such as we are having what? Such as we are having the columba, which is called as the pigeon. Understood? etc. Thus this is somewhat the condition when we are talking about the case of the apes, where we have dealt the certain demonstration, means what are actually the apes. So apes are what? So apes are the birds which are often called as the flying vertebrates. So these apes literally include 10,052 of the different species. And what are actually the species? So the species, tell me. So those organisms which could literally reproduce among themselves as well as produce the similar kind of the offspring. So they are called as what? So they are called as the species. Then when we are talking about the case of the environment, in the case of the apes, so these apes literally live or either flying in terms of the air. Often the apes are what? So your apes are literally warm-blooded. So these are often called as the homeothermals. Next characteristics in terms of the apes, that these apes are performing the aerial mode of life, as well as these apes are often called as the pneumatic. Why? Because these apes are able to maintain the constant body temperature. Then we do have the next broad characteristics in the case of the common, particularly structure. So in this case, what will be happening? So in case of the apes, the skin are quite. Thus, this is somewhat the condition when we are talking about the case of the apes, where we have dealt the certain demonstration, means these particularly apes are often the birds, which is called as what? Which is called as the flying vertebrates, as well as these are including around how much of the species? So these are including around 10,052 of the species. We do understand that these apes are particularly flying in air, as well as these are warm-blooded. Thus these are called as what? Thus these are called as the homeothermals. Often these apes are particularly having the next component, such as these apes perform the aerial mode of life. Often these apes are pneumatic, means what? Means they are able to maintain their constant body temperature. So you could often write these. So if you like the word with reference to the education as well as the lectures as well as the videos, so you could particularly subscribe, then particularly like, as well as comment below in the text. Thus I'll be knowing that what concept actually you are hungry for, or what haven't you understood or either got. So very thank you with reference to the Rahul Anand Biology tutorials. So you could often write this.